Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we are very pleased you joined us for our 3-day Metals and Mining Conference. Our next live presentation is from Lion Copper and Gold. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for a one-on-one meeting by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome John Banning, Chief Executive Officer of Lion Copper and Gold, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol LCGMF and on the CSE under the symbol LEO. Welcome back, John.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending. Appreciate your time today. We've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to move along at a fairly good pace. I encourage everyone to have a look at the forward-looking statements at your convenience. This presentation is available on our website, so you can have a look. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of the Yarrington Copper Project. We're located here in Nevada. Nevada is a very friendly state for mining, clear and reliable permitting process. Got a great tax rate here in Nevada, a lot of support in the community, a lot of access to mining infrastructure. We've got secured water for our project, a lot of large copper porphyry projects in the district. So there's a lot of opportunities for us here. Matter of fact, Nevada has most operating mines in the US and also is the largest by value as well. There's a lot of clear history here in Nevada for mining. Just a quick overview of the Yarrington Copper Project. It is the third largest pre-construction copper cathode project in the US. That's based on an annual production of 120 million pounds per annum for about 12 plus years. I want to be clear about the Yarrington Copper Project. The project intends to produce refined copper. So that's copper cathode for delivery into the US supply chain. This is not a concentrate project that would likely be shipped overseas for processing into refined copper. This is refined copper right here in the USA. This is an advanced copper project. So we recently completed our PFS. We published that in September this year. And is a significant milestone for the project. In going through the PFS project, which is the point, it's highly de-risked with a great upside and a very scalable heap leaching project. We've got a great land package, very strategic in this district. I'll cover that in more detail a bit later. But there's a great opportunity for consolidation and synergies with some adjacent projects in the area. We've got a great investor with Newton, a Rio Tinto venture. They have invested $28 million into the project to get us to this completed PFS stage. And again, Nevada, very clear and reliable permitting path, known timelines, know exactly what we need to do to progress this project in terms of the permitting path. And again, we have the water rights to support the project, which is very important in this state. So third largest pre-construction copper cathode project in the US, third only to Cactus in Santa Cruz at 120 million pounds per annum. This is based on our reserve from the pre-feasibility study. And I just wanted to show a bit of a comparison. And our plan is to be in production producing first cathode in 2029. We'll go through a bit of detail on the schedule for that later in the presentation. So just some highlights on financial metrics and other things from the PFS. We've got a NPV to initial capital ratio of about 1, which is a great outcome. C1 operating cost is $1.92 per pound of copper, which is in the upper half of the second quartile for C1, which is a good outcome for a developed nation with low geopolitical risks and other matters. All-in sustaining costs of $2.67 per pound, and a great outcome on the base case capital intensity of about $12,000 per ton per annum. I just want to give you a quick overview of the project layout. So we've got the MacArthur open pit up here to the north, which produces an oxide ore. That oxide ore goes on to an oxide heap leach here. So that's the MacArthur heap leach. Got an SX facility. We've got the rail spur coming down through the center of the project. And then down here at the Yarrington pit, we mine sulfides and oxides out of that pit. So there's an oxide heap leach here to the east, and then a sulfide heap leach to the west. We've got crushing infrastructure, waste rock facilities very close to the pits. So that's the basic general layout of the project. After-tax NPV of about 700 million. Initial capex is about 724. After-tax IRR is about 15%. The project produces about 1.4 billion pounds over a 12-year period. What really makes all this work is a very low strip ratio. So our strip ratio is 0.32 to 1. So it's a basic walk up and dig ore operation. It's a restart of 2 existing open pits. You'll see some of the pictures later. And a great team working on this PFS, a great partner with Newton. Samuel Engineering led the PFS study for us with support and QP support from AGP, Pito, Newfields, Woodside Process, and GSI Environmental. So reputable firms contributed to this very robust and rigorous PFS. Our PFS was a data-driven process. Basically, we follow the data, do the engineering, do the science, do the math to get to our outcome. We did numerous trade-off studies, as you would expect. So, for example, acid plant versus bringing acid in, cogen with those acid plant for electricity supply, heap leach facility siting locations to optimize the use of disturbed ground. Part of our big focus on this project was to disturb as little new ground as possible. One of the upsides for this project is a very conservative contingency on this. So a lot of the project CapEx was based on budget quotation and a very small part around factoring. So we ended up with an average of 24.3% contingency with some good upside there. I want to stress that this is a brownfields restart. So there's 2 existing open pits. The Yarrington pit has sat since about 1975, 78, so about 50 plus years. And the MacArthur pit was mined in the 90s and has sat for about 30 years since that time. So this project is about restarting both of these pits and essentially and effectively just doing cutbacks and expanding these 2 pits. So we have very low technical and operational risks on this project. There's extremely high geological confidence across our reserve. There's over nearly 700,000 feet of drilling into MacArthur and Yarrington resources. And it's just very, very low geological risk for this project. There's a lot of project expansion potential for us here at the Yarrington Copper Project. The reserve shell was done at $3.90. The resource shell is done at $4.22 on both the pits. So you can see there's between the measured and indicated, there's a significant amount of expansion potential. The reserve for the project sits at around 2.14 billion pounds of copper. So excluding the reserves, there's about another 1.4 billion pounds of copper that sits between the reserve and the resource shells for future possible expansion. Reminder that the economic model for the project was done on a basis of $4.30 copper. I think COMEX copper this morning is sitting about $5.10. There's a lot of under-tested targets that sit directly underneath for further resource growth. You can see these pointed out with the various areas here at the Yarrington pit and also the MacArthur pit. So there's significant upside on the resource in the project as well. We have a really strong partner and cornerstone investor with Newton, and we can say with high confidence now that the Newton technology is very effective here at Yarrington following the PFS study. We achieved high copper recoveries in the test work from our sulfide ore here from the Yarrington pit. That was about 73.2% recovery of copper with a scaling factor of about 92%. The heap leaching process with Newton uses significantly less water than traditional flotation with tailing storage. That's very important in an area that is pretty water constrained, and a significantly lower processing OPEX and a lower carbon footprint with the Newton technology. So all of those things have been validated at the PFS study level for our project. Again, we completed and where we're at with Newton and where we're heading with Newton. So we've got the PFS is now completed, a number of stages leading up to that. And the decision for the feasibility study as per the Newton option agreement, that's coming in this quarter. So we're working through due diligence now with Newton on potentially progressing that feasibility study. This is a very simplified flow sheet. I'll walk through it pretty quickly. We've got two sources of oxide ore. That's MacArthur, and there is oxide ore at Yarrington. So there'll be two oxide heap leach pads, and that just then follows the normal heap leaching process for copper into pregnant leach solution and solvent extraction and electrowinning. We've got the sulfide ore coming out of the Yarrington pit. That goes through crushing circuit, agglomeration, and stacking. Newton technology is applied, and then we get PLS, solvent extraction and electrowinning. Cathode then goes out by rail. One thing important to highlight is that the oxide ore is going as run of mine. So we did the trade-off studies there, and the data-driven process led us to keep that as run of mine as opposed to the crushing infrastructure and CapEx that's required to go that route. So we have a very clear permitting path and an attractive jurisdiction in Nevada. This is a brownfield site. So this is a restart of two operations that have occurred in the past. There's a lot of disturbance over much of the sites which we can utilize. So that means we don't have to disturb new areas. There's a long history of operating permit issuance. And again, we know what's required for the permits and the timelines. Importantly here, there's no threatened and endangered species identified. And the site's been under study for a long time and is highly characterized. So we don't, that's not a critical path item in terms of permitting and establishing your baselines. This project is available for the FAST-41 federal permitting status. We have engaged initially with the relevant federal agencies, and they are interested in progressing the opportunities there with us, and we'll engage that at the appropriate time. We fully understand the state and federal requirements and developed extremely detailed schedules around the permitting process using current and recent mines that have gone through that permitting process in the last few years. So that's the critical path to cathode for us is the permitting side. Importantly, we secured our water rights for this project. We have over 6,000 acre feet per year of consumptive water permitted for mining use. And we also actually have additional water available on option agreements from adjacent land that we have control over. So this is a very scalable open pit heap leach. This is a bit of review of previous information. The average recoveries for this project is 67.4%. Again, the sulfides by a Newton copper recovery is 73.2%. 60% recovery from the oxides on conventional run of mine. We've got 35 square miles of patented, unpatented claims in private land that are also adjacent to some pretty significant copper projects. And there's some real significant benefits around optimizing our use of disturbed land. It's a zero water discharge project and a low carbon footprint that produces cathode directly into the US supply chain. So these are some of the items that we've achieved over the last sort of 18 months, getting us to the current time. I'll just quickly run through what the next couple of few years looks like. So again, the baseline studies have been ongoing at the site for a long time because of the pre-existing operations. So that's not a critical path. Sometimes establishing baseline can become a critical path for a permitting process for a project. That's not the case for our project. We're looking to kick off the definitive feasibility study around the turn of the year, and that's to go for about 12 to 18 months. Critical path for the project is the permitting process, which again we'll look to kick off at the turn of the year, and that will take about 2.5 years. That'll take us up to mid-2028, and then procurement and construction for 18 months. So what that looks like is we kick off up at MacArthur. We establish the heap leach facility. We start mining up at MacArthur. We start stacking oxide material on the heap leach facility. We establish the MacArthur SXEW, and we also start the first phase of the electrowinning processing center down at Yerington, and then commission and production by about mid-2029. So a little bit broader picture here around the copper district in Yerington. We have a significant land package. Again, we've got the 35 square miles. The Yerington Copper Project consists of the MacArthur mine and the Yerington mine, again, a reserve of about 2.14 billion pounds. We also own this Bear deposit, which has a historical 6.5 billion pound resource. And but just adjacent to us is the Hudbay Minerals and Mason deposit, which has an M&I of about 14 billion pounds. And that's only about 1.5 to 2 miles west of the Yerington pit. So there's a pretty interesting situation evolving whereby there's the potential for consolidation and synergistic opportunities between these two, between our project, the Bear deposit with the historical resource, and the Ann Mason deposit. This is a bit more simplistic way to look at it. The Yerington Copper Project acts like the central catalyst between the Bear deposit, again, historical resource, which we're currently evaluating for mineral resource estimate potential, and the Mason deposit. Excuse me. The idea basically is that it's reasonably logical to see consolidation and synergies develop over time, whereby Yerington becomes the central processing area for effectively about 20 billion plus pounds of copper at this stage. I'll talk a little bit about the Bear deposit. So this is a large copper porphyry deposit that we're currently evaluating. There's been some press releases in the past about some of our drilling results. It's quite large. It covers about 4 square miles. We've got about 163,000 feet of drilling into the Bear. And we've had some pretty big intercepts. Last year, we released about a 2,400 foot intercept at 0.4% copper. There's a lot of high grade intervals in here. And again, we're evaluating the MRE potential and how this deposit fits into the Yarrington Copper Project and potentially the bigger picture in the district. So this is a hole from Bear that we released last year. This is just about the 2,400 foot intercept, averaging about 0.4% copper. We actually lost this hole. The last about 10 feet was in 1% copper. This is a section north to south through the Bear looking west. What's important but doesn't just jump out here in this slide is that if you follow the Bear Fault and you look at the background here with these drilled intercepts, everything below the Bear Fault is highly mineralized. So this is a big deposit that we are working through. So where we're at, basically we've got the project at a PFS level. It's significantly de-risked, operational and technically. The project is low risk. We've got a great cornerstone investor, again, clear permitting path and in a very favorable jurisdiction with importantly the secured water rights to support our project, a great land package and strategic for potential catalyst to consolidation. We're working through the Bear for potential pipeline potential. And here's the near-term catalyst for us on the Yarrington Copper Project. So we've got the PFS technical report out. That was published in September. You can go check that out on our website. We've got some key things coming up. So we've got the Newton Stage 3 decision. So the Stage 3 decision is about deciding whether or not to proceed with the feasibility study on the project and Newton's continued involvement. Again, working through the Bear deposit mineral resource estimate evaluation. That's planned for Q4 as well. And ultimately, our plan is to be kicking off the definitive feasibility study and permitting process and at the turn of the year. I'll let everyone go and check out the numbers on the capital structure and the board and team members on our website because we're getting short on time, and I want to move on to questions. So thank you for everyone's time, and we'll start pulling up some questions here. So this is a good question. So how does the project's capital intensity and operating costs compare to other copper projects in the U.S.? So I can say that the capital intensity is for copper projects in the U.S. is in the top quartile, and so it's very competitive compared to others that have recently released a PFS in the last year or two. So that one that's the $12,000 per ton per annum. So that's highly competitive. The C1 cash costs of $1.92 is also competitive. The way I see that C1 cash cost is that it's in the upper half of the second quartile, but that's on a global comparison. If you look at that in developed countries, that is a competitive C1 cash cost. So There's a great question here. What are the critical technical, regulatory, or financial milestones over the next 12 to 18 months, and what could cause delays? So critical technical, our PFS demonstrates that the technical side and the operational risks are very low. This is a mine restart. These pits have been in place for a very long time. It's a cutback and a re-engagement of mining. From a metallurgy perspective, it's extremely comprehensive, the metallurgy test work that has been done going into the project. Newton has done, I think, 42 columns across the sulfide material to inform the PFS. So those results are incredibly robust. The oxide work that we did, as well as Newton, is robust as well and quite straightforward. Operationally, it's a pretty straightforward mining open pit, excuse me, cutback. Regulatory risks, we don't see any major regulatory risks given the known and a clear path for permitting in Nevada. We don't have a threatened or endangered species. The financial milestones are important here. So we need to progress with the right partner or partners and team to progress the project forward. That's pretty standard for a company with a flagship project at this current state. This is where we're at on that curve. And that's what we're going to need to move the project forward over the next 12 to 18 months. We need to have support and funding from the right partner to move the project forward. So this is a great question. What are the contingencies and decision points if Newton does not move forward with further investment after the feasibility study? So we have to develop as many options as we can to move the project forward and enhance shareholder value. So we're not going to leave that to chance. So we are currently engaged with a number of parties and in discussions on options on what that looks like and how can that be moved forward. Various institutions are in a due diligence process to potentially discuss with us partnering and getting involved in the project. So we are not leaving ourselves exposed from a backup plan, if you will. We need to prepare for all contingencies, and we're doing that. So how does the strategic partnership with Newton benefit the project, especially regarding proprietary leaching technology and funding commitments? So there's a lot of optionality with Newton in terms of their proprietary leaching technology. So one is Newton brings to the party a wealth of obviously sulfide metallurgy leaching experience, and more broadly, this is Newton's connected with Rio Tinto. They're a Rio Tinto company, and there's a lot of expertise that has been brought to bear from the broader Newton group to add value, for example, through the whole PFS process. They were involved as engaged and positive partners to see the best outcome. So that's a big part, and that would continue moving forward. And with regard to their proprietary technology, with regard to leaching, I can't speak to any details, but back to the 42 columns that they've done to optimize their technology as it applies to our sulfide resource at Yarrington, that's been a great success in terms of the PFS outcome. So I want to thank everyone. That's all the time we have. I really appreciate your attendance, and I wish everyone a great day. Thank you.